Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES, that is, at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is politics done right.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Thank you so kindly for having the honor of, for us having the honor to be with you. So look, we're going to have a great show for you today. It's an important show. It's a show that I want you to really pay attention to. And you know what? Later on, we're going to have to share this show, my friends, because the fight is on. I don't like to say the fight. You know, it's not a fightful kind of guy, but here is the deal. We have a lot of work today. Title of the show today, When Americans Understand This is Legalized Theft, Medicare for All becomes easy. I repeat, when Americans understand this is legalized theft, Medicare for All becomes easy. Everyday Americans, subtitle, everyday Americans are robbed every day by the healthcare industrial complex. Most feel impotent because these thugs are not breaking the law. The thugs are not breaking the laws, but you go into the ghettos or the barrios or Appalachia, you lift a finger and you're in jail and you're thrown into the penitentiary so that the prison industrial complex can make money. But these thugs, using what they call capitalism, shareholder value, they can rip you off, and that's what they're doing. We will empower Americans through Medicare for All, folks, and that's what we have to preach. Anyhow, here's the story. Republicans continue to scare establishment Democrats by calling the policies that progressives are pushing socialism. This is not the time for timidity. It is the time to lean into the policies progressives are pushing because it is what Americans want. They want what we are selling. Problem is, we never have the convictions to do so. We are timid. We are scary. In our second segment today, we will discuss the legal theft that standalone emergency rooms are inflicting on unsuspecting everyday Americans. I'll tie that into a narrative we must get out there of the evils that are generated by having healthcare in the private sector under corporate control that must maximize profits for shareholders and executives. The patients are just a commodity, the raw material of their product. Remember, this is a new kind of slavery. You are just the raw material for somebody to make money on your bodies, on your illnesses, on everything else, my brothers and my sisters. But anyhow, that's for the second segment. Our first segment features Tamara Shealey, host of the show Tamara for Georgia, and I have the link in the blog to Tamara for Georgia. She's a regular contributor and partner of Politics Done Right. Remember, she normally comes on every other Wednesday, but I had a guest on Wednesday, so I called her up and I begged her to change to Monday, so she will discuss her ordeals and tribulations with her health care or lack thereof for extended periods. Folks, please make sure to share this show. This is some serious stuff that we're going to be talking about today, folks. This is some serious stuff, so we have got to get it done. Tamara Shealey, how are you doing, my dear good friend? And before we get started, we're going to have a story, don't we?
Yes, Egberto, how are you?
I am doing fine. First of all, I want to thank you for making that change for me. I felt kind of guilty for asking you to change to Monday. And then I felt a little guiltier because of our hair ordeal. You called me today. Why did you tell me today? Tell me what you called me and tell me.
Egberto, I was having a crisis. My hair was wet and I washed it and I was not going to be ready. So it was a crisis. Egberto, my hair.
And what did I say, Tamara?
You told me to come to work anyway and bring my hair as it is because my hair is perfect as it is.
I listen, and that's what I tell people. I always tell folks, people talk about, oh, why don't they hire women and all that kind of stuff. They say, oh, well, they're going to have some sort of a women's issue. I'm like, women's, you know what? There are no women issues or men issues. It's either or the, and you bring what you bring, and you bring what you normally bring, and what you normally bring is always good. So how you doing today, my friend?
I'm good, Egberto. So it was perfect because I've been wrapping my hair for the month of February anyway, for Black History Month. So wrapping my hair today was easy to do. So I did it, and I'm here. And yes, we can talk healthcare and the lack thereof for some of us.
Yeah, oh yeah. Wait a minute. What are you trying to imply? What are you trying to imply with lack thereof? I have to take care of this every day. I have to shave it every day. But anyhow, we are going to get into some real stuff here. Look, my subject today is on the second half of the show is about some really thievery that's happening here in America with healthcare, and in this case, emergency rooms. And when we were discussing what we're going to talk about today, you said, well, you know what? Let me talk about something that is close to what you're doing. So you had your own ordeals and tribulations. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your instances without healthcare, whatever you're comfortable with saying?
Thank you, Egberto, for this conversation. I think, I, as a small business owner, I actually owned a nail salon for 10 years. I did services for 18 years, actually. And there were periods where my business was slow and things were touch and go. And there were periods where I did not have health care. And me and my children, we did not have health care. So I know how scary that can be. I know how uncomfortable that is. Personally, I know, when you can't afford to get sick, or you can't afford to go to the doctor. And then if you do go, you're going to have to pay some enormous amount of some bill that you probably can't even pay. So I know what that's like, Egberto.
Now, I remember you telling me one time that, you have your son and you were impressing on him why it is that he had to make sure to stay healthy.
Yeah, I think he didn't understand. Like, we have healthcare now. And there was, like I say, periods when he was little, it's like he would go outside and not put his coat on, or he would walk on the bare floor with no socks on. It's like, put your socks on, put your coat on, put your hat on, put your gloves on. It's like he couldn't get sick, and he didn't understand. Like, why is she fussing about, putting, a coat on, and why do I have to eat my vegetables? Because, son, you can't afford to get sick.
Yeah, and that is a reality of a whole lot of people. And even today with us having the Affordable Care Act and all these things, I mean, still there are several over 20 million people that are still uninsured.
So
So
it's not a good place, and it's not a good feeling. And it's, I think every person in this country, Medicare for all is not a hard ask. We're just asking that everybody can see a doctor. I mean, that to me is like a no-brainer. It's a right. It's not a privilege.
it has to be looked at as a right. Now, during those times that you, there are these different types of, what should I say? Women have these yearly tests that they have to go through. So what are you telling me, that for these periods of times, did you go without? Did you go ahead, and what did you do?
No, I went without. Like, I would skip certain parts of my exam if I had to go to the doctor. I can't afford that part, so let me just see the doctor for the blood work and all the things that I could afford from a regular doctor visit. But if it was anything more, I'll do that next year. Or I didn't get my first mammogram at 40. I got it like in mid 40s. So it's like, I know what that's like to not be able to see the doctor and get all the care that you absolutely need. So like I say, it's just a no-brainer. And for any of these elected officials and that are not pushing for Medicare for all, shame on them. And those are the ones that we need to make sure don't get elected again, because this is a right, like I say, and not a privilege.
Well, I mean, I don't think that goes without saying that we are definitely going to be pushing for Medicare for all. But I mean, while you're talking, I was trying to find an article from there's a woman, and I asked her for permission, and I wanted you to listen to something that she said. She cried. She finally got it, like hers. She wrote something that when I saw, the president of Indivisible Houston sent me a note, and he said, "Egberto, you have to have this woman on your show. And I said to him, absolutely so. And she started her Facebook post like this: after 2 years without health care, I came home to see that I finally got my insurance ID card in the mail. First, I was silent. Then I cried happy tears. I feel a huge sense of relief, a weight released that I didn't know I was carrying around me. I mean, and that got to me. I felt a weight released that I didn't know I was carrying around me. In other words, and I imagine that's the same with you. You're walking around, I mean, I don't know if we've known each other for several years now. I don't know if some of the times that you were out there in Arizona at when we did our net roots, or in Atlanta or wherever, at what periods you didn't have insurance. But I mean, it's amazing because you're out there in another city thinking, could something go wrong?
Mm-hmm. And you can't even think like that. It's like, you have to keep living and you have to keep going. And I think anybody that doesn't have health insurance, it just becomes like, I have to keep going. I have to keep living. And I just pray. I'm that spiritual woman. So I just pray that all goes well and you just keep going. And I'm sure that's how a lot of people are just making it, like prayer.
Right. She continued and she said, whenever I got sick, I would just ignore the problem until it went away. I haven't been to a doctor in over 2 years because I never knew how much I'd end up spending out of pocket. I'm lucky that chapter is over. I am lucky that I've been in good health. Mm-hmm. Not everybody can say that.
Mm-hmm. And I didn't ignore it. Like, I'm like a holistic person, so I got herbs and teas, and I'm self-medicating. Like, what can I take? What's natural enough to remedy this? Like, I'm trying to figure out how to get well. Like, I never ignored the problems, but I would just figure out, like, what can I do to make myself well? It was like I was my own doctor.
Right. Well, right now on your show, you've been tackling all these Georgia-specific issues. What's up in Georgia these days?
We're just watching session. We're watching the legislative session in Georgia. We're just as busy as every other state. We are Republican dominated, and we're just trying to make sure that the right things are pressing through, and we're just trying to stay on the forefront of it all, Alberto. And it's a lot.
Did they ever adapt that? Because right here in Texas, in fact, I'm going to Austin on Monday to the legislature to lobby for the Medicaid expansion to the Affordable Care Act, which here we don't have it here because they chose not to have it. And I think Georgia is the same. They chose not to have it. So, I mean, do you know if that is on the docket for this year in Georgia like it is here in Texas?
I'm not quite sure, but I will definitely check into it now that you've asked, Egberto, because if it's not, it definitely needs to be, because every state should have taken those dollars, and for them not to, it's, we've closed rural hospitals here in Georgia. People are just, winging it in this entire state because Georgia chose not to take Medicaid, the expansion of Medicaid.
Yeah, that is extremely sad. That is extremely sad that they did that. Well, this after this segment here, we're going to be talking about emergency rooms. Let me ask you, when your son was sick in those days, whenever he got sick, had you ever considered going to one of those urgent cares or standalone emergency rooms that are starting to pop up?
No, this was some years back, but no, these emergency cares, I'm really watching these places that are popping up, Egberto, and wondering, and this is something I have seen, and I'm not sure if you've heard anything about it, where you can kind of pay as you go. Some of these doctors are allowing people to pay them monthly. I guess right. If they don't have any major medical problems, that they can just kind of pay these doctors monthly directly. I'm watching how this transition with our medical system, I'm not sure what it is, Egberto.
Well, I mean, I got a call today from a colleague at the other radio station that I'm at, KPFT 90.1 FM, and she wanted me to meet some people who were trying to get collectives put together for healthcare. And it's on the order or similar to some of the things that you're talking about, where people get together and they pool and they got their monies together. But a lot of this, in effect, is trying to snuff out Medicare for all by putting these things together and getting people into these domains. They're really trying to snuff out Medicare for all. So I'm going to go and meet the person and talk to him. I mean, he's working mostly in minority communities, and he wants to establish these types of collectives. What I do understand is if we start to get these types of issues, this is what Republicans are going to use in their attempts to stifle Medicare for all. So I've been to the observation that you made as far as being concerned about these pay-as-you-go places, because, I mean, you can pay as you go for a cold. You can pay as you go for a fever that's not very related to anything important, but you can't pay as you go for a broken leg, pay as you go for cancer, pay as you go for any one of these other things. So, I mean, I think it is something that Americans need to watch closely, because it may sound good and cost effective in the beginning, but it can come and bite you, and you know where later on.
And I think that's been my biggest concern. It's like, why are these places kind of popping up, and this new structure that's being created? What is that? And what I found about legislation is that legislation is usually the last leg. So what they're going to do is establish what you just said, and then go ahead and implement this legislation.
Tamara, that is important. You've been to Washington D.C. in Congress and actually see how these things work. I mean, you did some lobbying out there. I think that is something that we have to start getting smart about and getting people involved in understanding. By the time something hits legislation, most of it is already cooked by what we call stakeholders.
Exactly. And I saw this happen even with marijuana, Egberto, not to get off the subject, but I saw this happen with these vape shops that were popping up here and there all over the country. And then look, now these are dispensaries in some states. I'm like, so this was already in the works, and I'm seeing it now happening with healthcare. Like, so this is something already in the works. That's why I said I'm not sure what it is. So thank you for bringing some clarity to it, because I knew it was suspicious to me.
It is suspicious, and like I said, when we're done here, stick around. I know you have your here to go do, but stick around, because we have a big subject to tackle. But anyhow, you have some news about your shows and your and how what you're doing. I think you have a new show that's going to be coming along.
Yep, I'm moving into a second broadcast. Tamara for Georgia is our Friday broadcast, Egberto, where you grace us with a national political perspective on Fridays at 11 a.m. But we're now venturing into a more of an exclusive interview platform where we can have direct conversations around certain issues. So it'll be Tuesdays. My first broadcast will be tomorrow. I'm super excited. Tuesday at 8 p.m. And we're going to be talking about everything, but there'll be exclusive interviews that we can really hone in on and get the details on certain topics.
So how do people reach you to get onto that new show that you're putting together?
That's Tamara Shealey. So if you go on here on Facebook, it's Tamara Shealey, and it's going to be called Let's Talk with Tamara Shealey.
Oh, really? I didn't realize you already had a name for it.
Egberto, Let's Talk with Tamara Shealey. And it starts tomorrow, 8 p.m. to 8:30. It's a 30-minute broadcast.
And is it at night, or is that 8:30 p.m. or a.m.?
p.m. Eastern Standard Time. 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Let's talk.
Well, good. I wish you much luck with that show. Before we go here, we're at our 20-minute mark. Tell me, is there anything else that we've missed that we need to talk about today?
No, Egberto, I'm looking forward to hearing the rest of your broadcast. I'm sharing it here on social media. Call in, everybody, 646-716-5812. I didn't hear you give your call-in number, Egberto.
I am such a terrible person I forget to ask people to subscribe. I forget to ask. I am so into the subject. I have to get that off. I got to start remembering to do that.
Let me do it for you today, Egberto. If you are not a member of this, a part of this broadcast, and if you haven't been subscribing, please go and hit the subscribe button. There's a patron button here on the website, right, Egberto?
Yes, if you go to politicsdoneright.com, or if you go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright, you can subscribe and support, independent media. We're all out here trying to make sure we're spreading the word. Traditional media is not giving us a voice. So please help us, those of us that are trying to do independent media and keeping you informed and abreast of the issues. Please support us so we can stick and stay in this fight. Look, thank you so kindly for being here, Tamara. Let me tell you, I'm full this week with a whole bunch of guests that are coming in, and next week we're kind of filled up next week again. People are going to hear some subjects on Politics Done Right this whole week, and next week it's going to be great. But look, thank you so kindly for being here. Folks, remember, TamaraForGeorgia.com and TamaraShealey.com. Her websites for her 2 shows. Look, you go ahead and get it done, my friend. Thank you so kindly for being here. And okay, go dry your hair now, okay?
Yes, I'm going to dry my hair now. Thank you, Egberto.
Thank you so kindly, my friend. Folks, that was Tamara in Georgia. She ran for Senate, State Senate, District 40. She almost did it. She brought that district from being way down all the way up, and then the Democratic Party took it. They took it. So I mean, let me tell you something. She's going places with the other things that she does. So thank you so kindly. But folks, we are going to have a great show today with regards to these emergency rooms, and I want you to stick with me. I want you to stay with me, but not only stick with me and stay with me. What I need you to do, my friends, is I need you to share this baby. I need you to know about this baby. And the reason why is this is, you know, you always hear people say, well, is that existential? Yes, this is existential. So before I get started, I have to ask you, do you know what time it is?
It's time for the weekly blog post.
Okay. This is important. If you're listening to this on the podcast, if you're listening to this on Vlogcast, we have to get this out here. The name of the blog today is called These Stories Show Legalized Theft, the Reason We Need Medicare for All. All right? And it goes like this. This is very important. This blatant legal theft allowed by our healthcare system is the reason why single payer for all is long overdue. These 3 stories should have your blood boiling. The Houston Chronicle's excellent article titled Cracking the Code, How Facility Procedure Codes Can Become Weapons is a must read, and I have the link to it inside there. It's a must read. It illustrates just one cog in the health industrial complex method of ripping people off. It's called, or what I like to call, the Grand Pilfer. So it goes like this. These are the 3 stories, and I'm going to tell you the 3 stories, then I'm going to get into what I think we have to do, but it goes like this. Her dizziness, for which they were incompetent to diagnose appropriately, still resulted in a $15,000 bill. What profession allows that kind of billing without guaranteed success or satisfaction? Look, I'm an engineer by training. Before I decided to throw that all away and to do this, become a full-time activist. Do you think I could design any piece of hardware, any piece of software that didn't solve a problem and then charge a hell of a lot of money for it? They would laugh me out of the store. How comes the medical industrial industry gets away with it? Because it's called legalized theft. You take something from somebody that isn't yours and you don't give the requisite service. So theft number 1. Sarah Hirsch was teaching a second period art class at Manville High School in November when she felt as if the room was spinning. It was unnerving enough that she went to the school nurse's office to lie down and soon felt better, but when she stood, the dizziness came back. The cause of Hirsch's symptom was never determined, but the doctor who saw her the next day quickly discovered fluid in her ears, a common cause of dizziness that usually requires no immediate treatment. Yet, by the time she left the Montrose Emergency Center, a freestanding emergency room, Hirsch had accumulated more than $15,000 in charges that included 2 CAT scans, an electrocardiogram, 2 urine tests, blood work, and an IV of saline solution to prevent dehydration, even though she was told she was not dehydrated. She now owes $13,794.49 because insurance covered less than 10% of the charges since it was out of network. And I've had that experience. I was at the KPFT 90.1 FM here in Houston, and I felt jittery. And one of the guys would say, hey, let's just take your pressure for the heck of it. My pressure was 240 something over 140 something. In other words, I should have been stroking out. I should have been dead. They called it's a long story. Whatever the case is, I ended up at the emergency room. They gave me 2 little pills. They said, do you have a headache? I said, well, just a slight one. MRI. But that's it. slight MRI, and 2 pills. $5,000 in there, 1 hour. Wow. I raised hell. I finally told them, you know what? I'm a national blogger. Would you like to see this really reported like crazy? The woman said, I don't care, you got to pay it. Okay, no problem. I tell you what, I do suggest that you tell your manager about this conversation, is what I told her, because I'm really going to explode this particular issue and I'm going to be printing bills. And this won't be slander. I will print my bills to show them. In less than an hour, I don't remember exactly how much time, the manager called. Let's make a deal. 50% discount. I wanted more, but you know, I wasn't in a fighting mood then. But I'm trying to tell, everybody doesn't have that fighting spirit to go out there and defend themselves. We can't ask every American citizen to do that. Nor should any American or every American citizen have to do that to prevent some corporation from stealing and taking what's not theirs. Second story, he hit his head, used super glue to fix his wound. And then 2 days later, stepped into a facility just to make sure. He ended up with a $1,200 bill for a 20-minute visit. Here's the story. In January 2018, Richard Kelly tried to step over his sprawled Labrador retriever just as the dog stood up. The Tomball construction manager went tumbling into a corner of a granite countertop, opening a cut in his temple. Kelly, 63, was in pain and bleeding, but not hurt badly. He applied some do-it-yourself doctoring to the wound and closed it up with super glue. Wow, super glue is pretty cool, eh? He wasn't disoriented and did not feel nauseous. Still, his wife Maxine was worried about infection. 2 days later, Kelly agreed to have the cut checked. He couldn't get an appointment with his doctor, so he tried the Memorial Hermann Convenient Care Center nearby. He didn't know anything about it, but the receptionist promised no waiting. Of course, convenience, baby. You're not going to wait. We're going to give you a nice chair that costs just the same as it would if it was done by Medicare. We're going to give you a nice chair. We may even have some coffee for you. And we're going to get you some sugar and some milk, you know. We're going to spend 20 cents on you, my friend. You know, make you feel comfortable. Oh, that's what they do. They make you feel comfortable because they're going to sock it to you. A few minutes later, the doctor felt along Kelly's eye socket and cheekbone and declared, hey, nothing's broken, everything is fine. He asked Kelly about concussion warning signs. Richard, I don't think stitches are going to help you any. In other words, Richard successfully superglued himself and took care of himself. Just like Tamara said she did most of the times when she was on it, at the times that she was uninsured, she took care of herself. The nurse applied a few steri strips across the cut, and Kelly was done. The whole ordeal from walk in to walk out took about 20 minutes. 20 minutos, he said. In March, the couple got a bill from Memorial Hermann. They owed $1,188.75. The facility fee described as emergency care. That's our healthcare system. All he needed, número tres, all he needed was a tetanus shot he would have gotten for free at Walgreens. It cost him $1,900 plus $200 copay, $2,100. So here's the story. What Philip McGraw needed was a tetanus shot after poking himself in the arm with a rusty nail while doing yard work last summer. What he got was a bill for nearly $1,900. The San Antonio teacher didn't have a regular doctor. He thought about going to the Mission Trail Baptist Hospital emergency room, but he figured the wait would be too long and expensive for something so minor. He called a walk-in place called Baptist Emergency Hospital and was told to come in. Come on in, sucker on the loose. He said the first words out of his mouth were, "Can you check my insurance to see what my coverage is?" He had Aetna. The woman at the front desk said it was against policy to provide such information before treatment. He said he asked someone else who also would not confirm coverage. Think about that. Oh, we can't tell you how much it's going to cost, or we can't tell you if it's covered. We got to see you and see what's wrong first. Only after he went into the treatment room was he told he owed $200 copay for the emergency room service. McGraw incredulously said he wanted to refuse service and leave. He wanted to say, no, okay, bye-bye. Okay, he was told. But we're going to charge you anyway because you came back. Right when I knew, that's when I knew I was screwed. Those three stories are not uncommon. They are not uncommon at all. These corporations running freestanding emergency rooms are not doing anything illegal. They are playing by the tenets of our economic system. All of those who think Medicare for all would result in the takeover of America's healthcare should ask themselves, how well is the private system working for them right now? Think about it. How good is it working for you right now? If you need to go to a doctor, you start asking questions. Am I covered? Is it gone? Is this out of network? Out of network? If they touch something and somehow figured out that there was a illness before, is it really okay? How good is private health care for you? How sane is it keeping you? How is it doing for you? You're so scared about something else. Most Americans sit down and they are scared. Oh my God, those damn progressives are talking about single-payer Medicare for all. I am scared to lose my private insurance. What private insurance are we talking about, my friends? What private insurance that is giving you safety? What private insurance is giving you peace of mind? None of them are giving you peace of mind. These people are all insured. Think about if they weren't. These people are all insured. And they're walking out with a teacher walking out with a $15,000 bill. We can't even get our taxpayers to support taxes to pay teachers what they're worth. $15,000, and we're still allowing corporations to tax the holy hell out of us. And that's what these are, reverse taxes to enrich a few. And I can break it down later, but let's continue. Those private urgent care centers and private emergency rooms popping up in strip malls are nothing more than profit centers for major corporations. That's all they are, profit centers. They're there to make money, right? And we've allowed healthcare to become something you can really, really make money off of, my friends. Is that right? Is that moral? They sell healthcare services like any product by mostly lying or highlighting the aspects you want to hear. Oh, come to this urgent care. You can get no waiting, and we have coffee waiting. And we give you a nice smile when you come in. But you see what happened to that young man? He goes in there, and they're nice to him. As soon as he hears the price, and they say, okay, bye-bye. They say, okay, you can leave, but we're going to charge you anyway. Where was the niceness then? Folks, we have to understand what is happening here. We got to understand. We are being played. We are being played. It's an extractive way. They're taking monies away from you. You have to get mad. When we talk about Medicare for all, we are saying stop that crap. That private insurance that you have ain't good. I don't care what you think. Now, if you work for a major corporate, I tell you what, let me finish the blog, and then we'll go into the people who are guarding the gates for the plutocracy. We'll talk about those people who are ensuring that 20% or 90% of you remain enslaved to these type of insurance companies, because there are some insurance policies that are pretty damn good, and it's really worth it. And man, them people have some great health care. Talk about that after. But it goes like this, man. If a corporation is selling clothes, shoes, electronic equipment, or other trinkets, who cares if prices or description or less than, if the prices and descriptions are less than accurate or untruthful, right? So they tell you this pant, 50% sale, and they jack the price up so that the 50% sale look like a good deal. They're lying to you, but that doesn't hurt you. You go into the store and you say, they screwed me. Bye, I don't need it. You know, that can correct itself. But you go in with a broken leg, or you go in with a temple split open, or you go in with a dizziness. You're not going to sit down there and say, oh my God, your price is that? Sorry, I'll go somewhere else. No, you got to get health care. Health care does not belong in the private sector, because when you need it, you need it. Nobody goes to the doctor just for the heck of it. Well, you know, some people there are hypochondriacs everywhere, but not everybody does that. So, if a corporation is selling clothes, shoes, electronic equipment, or other trinkets, who cares if prices or descriptions are less than accurate or untruthful? We have a choice to purchase or not, be gullible or not. We have that choice to make when it comes to buying trinkets, when it comes to buying a car. But things that are necessary in society, things that we must have, why should we have it in the private sector when the sole purpose of that then is to maximize profits for a few, maximize profits for the shareholders? We have to get with the program, my brothers and sisters. We have to start thinking. We have to stop not believing what these... Look, the Powell Manifesto was a document written by Lewis Powell, a plutocrat, who said the only way we are going to maintain this type of economic system where we can pilfer the people is if we can fool them, if we can tell them, look, that's socialism, that's bad. If we can tell them all those things, we have to convince them. We have to lie to them. We have to make them believe things are not the way they are. We have to tell them that Venezuela, that is sitting on an ocean of oil, we cannot have somebody who wants to share that with the entire country on there, because somehow Americans might start to believe that all that oil that sits down on public land should not go to the oil companies, but should go to us all. We can't have that in Venezuela, because you know what? It'll be, you know, they're going to try to bring that crap here. So we have to destroy that economy and let them know that is what socialism does. But they never say, what about Norway? What about all these other places? What about Sweden? What about Switzerland? We are being played. We are being played. And what I'm saying, folks, is the reason I have shows like this is we have to start telling people the truth. When it comes to healthcare, there is something fundamentally immoral to apply the same model. If folks do not want government control of healthcare, then open the door for controlled nonprofits whose goals are good healthcare for all via single-payer Medicare for all. If you don't want the government to do it, create nonprofits only with strong regulations that you can't have a CEO making $13 million, $15 million because he ain't worth it. No. None of these CEOs are worth that money. So folks, my goal is to continue to highlight the immorality of our healthcare system and grandeur, our economic system that by design hurt most of us to benefit a few. That's my goal. There's nothing evil about it. There's nothing, oh, I want to hurt the system or I want to hurt anybody. I want to empower everybody to tell you this is your government, this is your country, and everything belongs to us all. We cannot allow a few to take it away. And I'm going to talk about how they take it away, even with healthcare and with all these other processes, my friends. I hope most will read these articles in the context I had my own experience with one of these legal theft freestanding emergency rooms, and I linked to it. I lived it. Many have lived it. So folks, please give us a call. Please give us a call at 646, what is the number? 646-716-5812. Again, that number is 646-716-5812. I am all ears, but beforehand, I'm getting all excited. Beforehand, as usual, I've always have to remember, oh my God, let me go ahead and start telling folks, I need you to subscribe. But before I talk about even subscribing, I have some great information. Guess what's starting? Our video chat is starting. We get into a group and all of us get together and talk, right? I have a Zoom session that is coming. February 27th, and those of you who are subscribers will get a link, and all of you can join us and have a conversation over use our computer, or cameras in our computer, a whole bunch of us online, just talking. And that's what we're going to start having at least once a month, and I promised to start it in February. I didn't realize, I forgot, hey, February only has 28 days. I better get this this thing going. So I went ahead and purchased the account for Zoom last night and set it up. So we are going to have a Zoom. If you're a subscriber, you can actually join in the conversation. Any number of people that come. I think I can probably populate over 100 people. I mean, a lot of people are shy and probably, I don't know if I want to do that. Hey, consider doing it, man. It's cool. It's cool. Just come on over and join us at that if you're a subscriber. So how do you become a subscriber? You just have to go to patreon.com/politicsdoneright. Again, that is patreon.com/politicsdoneright. There are a hell of a lot of perks, folks, for those people who are members, those people who subscribe. First of all, you get How to Make America Utopia. That is my book, the book that I'm writing right now. Every chapter that I write, I immediately put it online, and then you can read it online. Again, right now I'm working on chapter 3. Chapter 1 and chapter 2 are already online. But there's another book, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom. That book is still so applicable. In fact, it is even more applicable now that the plutocracy is taking even more control. So let me tell you, folks, if you want to understand what's going on in healthcare, if you want to understand what's going on with patent, well, you do want to understand why drug prices are high. It's a patent system. You know, there's a lot of things that create these problems, right? And there are actual things within the law that allows the pilfer that's occurring, that's allowing the theft to occur. These are laws that are written. And since Americans rarely ever think about laws, you know, it's just like my health care is too high, my drug prices are too high, and all these things. There are legal reasons. There are reasons why these things are occurring. It explains all of that. I don't know how much audio that I lost there, but folks, here's the deal. This explains, this book, As I See It, Class Warfare, The Only Resort to Right-Wing Doom, explains all these issues that we've spoken about. And best, it does it in a manner that is very easy to understand. So all you have to do is subscribe to Politics Done Right, and the subscription is extremely easy. Just go to patreon.com, patreon.com/politics done right, and you can. And not only that, I forgot to add. Remember, we are going to have a big. Well, not a big. I don't know how many people are going to show up, but anybody who is a subscriber will receive an email with a link to join a Zoom session. And in this Zoom session, we all are going to be able to talk. If you want to, I'm going to give you some issues that I want to cover in the Zoom session. In fact, let me go ahead and find what those issues are that I want to talk to you about, because it is going to be informal. It's going to be easy. There's going to be no, I want everybody to just feel like we're having a conversation when we do this. And what I mentioned, I sent out a newsletter today, or actually I sent out actually it was very early today, a newsletter to explain what we want to do. And here's what the newsletter said for those who haven't read the newsletter yet. It says, I said our Politics Done Right video meetups would start in February, but there are 2 or 3 fewer days in February than in a month. All right, I promised that we were going to have it, so we are going to have it. Zoom is a platform that allows hundreds to communicate via their computers, telephones, or smartphones. During our first meetup, I will discuss 1, the reason for having a strong progressive independent media movement. 2, I will also explain the part Politics Done Right is playing in this movement, along with describing the goals of our 10-point plan. But most importantly, I will talk about how we must all become an integral part of the media in however small a form to counteract the forces intent on misleading and deceiving us. So we're going to talk all about that. And you can, and we're going to talk about it nicely. And I'm coming to your telephone call in a minute. During the entire meetup, I want you to know that the platform is yours. I will shut up and listen to whatever the group want to talk about. Suffice it to say, I need you all to be frank on all our meetups. While I will be kind to all, I will be nice to everybody. I don't need reciprocity. If you want to call me out on anything, please feel free. Call me out. If you want to tell me, Egberto, you're full of it, you can do that too. So please join us at the meetup. It's going to be Wednesday, February 27th, 2019 at 8 p.m. All subscribers and donors, both both subscribers and donors will get an email from me with the link. It's a password protected link for the meetup. So thank you so kindly for what you guys are doing. We will be talking about that. Okay, let me bring in caller. Okay, caller, come on in, my friend. 832, come on in, you're hot.
Hi, Imperial. This is Matthew. I had a question about
yes.
Senators Warren and Harris both last week said they were in favor of reparations, which is something I've heard a lot about over the years, but I never got an idea of what that actually looks like or what anybody's vision for that was. I'm white, so I obviously can't have a real opinion on it, but I'm just curious as to what. I don't even need to continue the dialogue. I'm just curious as to your thoughts of what that would look like or how that would play out.
You know what? It's interesting that you asked that question, right? Because Tamara, I think one of the Tamara's guests, I don't know if it's the next guest or not, they are going to be discussing reparations. But let me qualify a few things about reparations that people have to understand, right? And the difficulty in the subject. First of all, for the longest time, and let me be clear, I want to make sure and be clear in the way I'm going to say this. For the longest time, I have been anti-reparations for specific reasons. I don't want to go into detail as far. I'm going to put your phone on. I'm going to put your phone on hold for now. I mean, I'll take you and then I'll bring you back in. But I've heard, and by the way, and let me tell you all the reasons why. Right? I am a black man, but I am from Central America. Will reparations? Who is reparations for? Is it for Black Americans? Is reparations for only descendants of American slaves or that sort of thing? How would it be managed? How do you handle that kind of a stuff? The other thing that I had with reparations is actually a bit simpler, right? Black people were redlining and all these other things meant that black people's wealth was kept down by design by the government and by slavery. There are a lot of things that cause black folks' wealth to be down and not in par with white people and otherwise. That's a fact. The question that I always had is when it comes to the white person that never had anything as well, how do we make the argument as far as, well, that you didn't have and the other have? So, I mean, there's a whole lot of conflict in my head right now as far as fairness is concerned, how it is to go. It is definitely a fact that black people were robbed, that black people were stolen, that their labor was stolen for all these years, and blacks as a collective are owed something, are owed the net increase in value of those things for those people who were slaves. But how to mitigate all of that is very complex. There are a lot of people. I have a woman that is becoming a producer of mine pretty soon. She's going to bring on a woman who supports reparation, and she's going to bring on another one who does. I don't have a coherent answer to give you as far as where I stand on it. But I am going to be talking to. Again, Tamara is going to be talking to folks on that, as well as Jude's going to be talking to folks on that. So you have anything else?
Okay,
I'm curious. Why did you ask that question? I'm curious. On a healthcare.
Well, it wasn't the healthcare. I wanted to ask you right after it came out, because they both said it Thursday, I think, and I wanted to call on Friday, but it's hard for me. I don't know. I always feel awkward calling in, but
you mean to KPFT or to the other shows?
Just calling in. I mean, you're always very friendly. I'm shy, so it's.
No problem. Well, but, I hope that you'll call in again because we are easy here, and I like every single question. Well, I don't think anything is off topic or subject.
Well, I've called in a few times. I just don't. But anyway, I was just curious because I don't.
What are your thoughts?
I've had a lot of those same thoughts you've had, but I understand there's been a lot of injustice there, so I'm not sure how I feel like it's something I have to listen to, opposed to I have a much of an opinion on. I just want to
Well,
learn more.
let me say something about that, because that is something that should I differ a bit from the what I call the black intelligentsia or the progressive intelligentsia, right? And let me tell you what I mean by that. And then I'm going to get back into healthcare, folks, so don't leave us at all. I'm going to get back into healthcare. Let me tell you what I mean by that, because this concept, in my opinion, is very, very important. We have a tenet, a thing that we normally go and we say, oh, well, you're a woman, and so therefore you can only talk women issues. You're black, you only talk black issues. You're this, you only talk this issues. If you believe the things that I believe in, right, I want everybody to jump on every subject, and if they screw up in somehow being insensitive on a subject, be corrected for having been insensitive of a subject, as opposed to having the feeling that if you have an opinion of something, because you're not of that gender, that race, or whatever, you can't have an opinion of. I think that holds us back more so than not. So my thing is, when it comes to people engaging, I opt for maximum engagement, and I opt for no. I don't want you to. If you have a subject that you want to talk about, if you want to say, I want to put in my opinion on reparations. I want to put in my opinion on gender this or whatever. I tell you what, I do. I allow myself to screw up, and if I say something that is just out of sheer ignorance, I want to be told, because that is the way we learn, and I think in the long run, that's the way we view society. Anything else you want to say, Matthew?
I was just curious. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so kindly. Okay, folks, again, the telephone number is 646-716-5812, and as you can see, generally speaking, I don't bite. So I would love for folks to call in and say hi or say make your point. But anyway, getting back to the subject on healthcare, I want to tell you something, because what's going on here is dangerous. Right now, the Republican Party, the Republican establishment, the right-wing establishment is on a mission, and they already have institutions ready to do this. And the mission is to corrupt you. The mission is to start telling you, hey, Lee Grant, Mike Cisak, all you guys, I welcome aboard. The mission is to try to tell you that somehow, if we change our medical system, if we change our systems to be more, not altruistic, but more social, support more social values. In other words, good health care, good child care, good work care, all these things that somehow, that is just some crazy stuff, man. And we're going to go into the oblivion of socialism where our economy fall apart. It is crap. I tell you something here. Let me tell you what the real gist of this thing is. You know, and by the way, I always talk about this, the people who guard the gate for these corporations, right? There are a lot of folks. And some of them may be you, and I say that with respect, because a lot of times we don't know. You know, there are people who have executives in these corporations and the higher-ups in these corporations. They may have, you know, a great healthcare plan, allow them to go to the gym. It allows them to do all kinds of things, and they just love it. They love that private healthcare that they are afforded, and their company pays it for them, etc. And then the company writes these things off. So it's not that big of an expense. And in the company writing it off, what it is really saying for those people who are paying taxes but have no health care is you are subsidizing those rich people who have those great health care plans. You see, we never listen, we never hear things the way they are. We hear things the way they want us to hear them. So when you have somebody up top that has this great insurance plan that allows them to get all these great services, it's another corporate write-off. That's what it is. I am going to keep you on my side by giving you great health care, and then I'm going to go to the government and write those off as tax breaks so that, in effect, it's a wash, or it just costs me a little bit, but it doesn't just cost me a little bit, because you are going to love your health care as a private health care system so much, and you have so much to fight with, that you will make sure nobody else is going to try to knock that system down. because 10% of you have the best money can buy, or the best the taxpayers can buy for you. And they are guarding the gates. So when you hear on TV that they do a poll, and the poll says, ask these people, hey, Medicare for all means no private insurance. Do you still want Medicare for all? Suddenly it drops from 70-something% to 50%. And the magic is this. People think their private health care, no matter how bad it is going to be better than the government health care or the Medicare for all. It's a lie. Medicare, think about it. If you have a card and you just go for health care and you don't pay a dime out of your pocket because you're paying taxes based on what you make. So if you make a lot of money, you're going to pay a lot of taxes for health care. But if you make a little bit of money, you'll pay a little bit. And if you don't make nothing, you don't pay anything. People say, well, that's not fair. Yes, it is fair, because those who make a lot, you know, we have a tendency to believe that our economy is divine. It is not. It is man-made. And that a stockbroker makes more than a teacher is a sad fact. And that is why the stockbroker who makes all that money shouldn't be, has to be taxed out of the system and redistributed. It sounds bad because they've taught you not to like redistribution. But folks, I want you to stay. We're coming out close to the end of the show. But I want you to stay listening to this show. I want you to subscribe to this show. I'm asking you kindly, because there's a lot we have to learn together. Because we have been manipulated. Our mindset has been manipulated. The way we think has been manipulated into thinking this is the way things have to be. I read a post from a friend, somebody who was on this show before, where she said, you have to work with what can be attained, what we can actually get. You can't look for pie in the sky. So all the people that are giving Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez a hard time, or Bernie Sanders a hard time, they're saying, but that's not attainable. Americans not going to want that. Americans are not going to want these things because they're taught to learn, or they're taught that it's unattainable. They're taught that somehow it's bad. They're taught that it can't be done. But folks, look at the wealthy. They're pilfering you all constantly. They're stealing from you all the time. They're ripping you off. When you go to an emergency, one of these off-center emergency room, and you walk out of there with a $15,000 bill, that is like, hey sucker, we just took your money. And you can't do a damn thing about it because we bought the politician who allows us to do it. And it doesn't just happen to one or two people. It happens to everybody who uses the service. It happens to everybody who uses the service. So folks, I need you to please subscribe. Subscribe to Politics Done Right. We're not only going to be talking about these issues as they affect one or two people. We're going to talk about these issues as we constantly have systemically. We have to talk about these issues systemically because it's the system. It is a system design that you can never get ahead. Because when you get a pay raise, your insurance goes up more so than your pay. If when you get a pay raise, everything else costs more, your insurance, your tax, if all these things cost more, you never get ahead. Why is it? I wrote a blog post about that based on what Bruce sent me a few weeks ago, where insulin, the same insulin that's been out for over 100 years, there's no patent, it's in the public domain. This insulin went from being $21 a vial to over $300 a vial. In other words, a year it cost a 1,700% raise, right? There was nothing else placed into that vial. There was nothing else done to that drug. But that company said, you know what? I will price whatever the market will bear. That's the magical thing in capitalism. The price of something is whatever the market will bear. Well, you know what the market will bear, folks? And this is what I want folks to understand. And I need you to really understand this in your core. In your core. The market will bear all your income. That is what the market will bear. So therefore, on medicines, we can charge whatever. Why? The market, when you get sick, the market is the total amount of income you have plus how much you can borrow less bankruptcy. Folks, I need you to understand these concepts. It is so important that you understand these, because when you understand it, when the politicians come and start telling you, oh, that's a socialist action, you can say, well, if that is socialist, I want it. because it's better for me. It's bad for you because you can't steal from me anymore. You can't get all that free money anymore. The biggest welfare recipients in this country aren't those people that you see on the streets that are getting food stamps and buying steaks. Those aren't the people you should be fearing. The people you ought to fear, remember that story I told you in the beginning? That person who walked into that center, who walked into that emergency room and walked out with a $15,000 bill. Where did that money go? That's welfare. That's welfare. Because that is taking your money and giving it to somebody who didn't earn it. That is welfare, people. We have been programmed. Let's change our programming. The welfare in this country is not the little food stamps and whatever that those folks in the ghetto, the barrios and Appalachia steals. That is not where the welfare is. That's pennies. The welfare is when they hit you one shot. Get sick today. Get sick. And everybody can. Get sick. Please, get sick. Go to the doctor. Go to one of these care places. That is the welfare. And the welfare doesn't look like that person that doesn't wear clothes or that person that... The welfare looks like those people living in the gated communities. That is where our welfare lie. In the gated communities. In the folks over there. That is where the welfare is. Folks, my name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. Please, please, please keep programs like this on air because we are going to be telling you the way things are, my brothers and my sisters. Go to patreon.com/politics done right. patreon.com/politics done right. Please go ahead and subscribe. If you don't want to subscribe and you say, I just want to contribute, please go to politicsdoneright.com and click the donate button. We are here to serve. We are here to tell you the truth. That is all we are into. Remember, what you get is our book, How to Make America Utopia Online. I'm writing that book right now. Chapter 1 and 2 is already online. Chapter 3 I'm writing right now. But we also have this book that is already out online, full-fledged, and you learn everything that I talk about. As I See It, Class Warfare, the only resort to right-wing doom. As I See It, Class Warfare, the only resort to right-wing doom. And we talk and we learn about all those issues. And on the 27th at 8 p.m. Central, we're having our first video meet up through Zoom. So you'll get all those of you who are subscribers, all of you who decide to subscribe. And remember, subscription starts at $1.99, so it's cheap, cheap, cheap. Because we want to have thousands of you, so that we can bring this message. And we don't only want thousands of you, we are asking you to share these things as well, because people have to know the truth. The mainstream media is not going to explain things this way. Do you think the mainstream media is going to tell you that our true welfare system is in gated communities? They won't tell you that. Those are people that make a whole lot of money without earning a whole lot of money. You earned it for them. So please, folks, go ahead and go to patreon.com/politics done right. patreon.com/politics done right. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. Love you guys to death. We got to work together. And guess what? I am out.
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is the progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. Remember, you can also send me a tweet to EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.
1, 2, 3, 4.